Sometimes it feels like the noise and tension outside our doors make everything heavier than it needs to be. This is 10 Better Minutes, a place to hear a few real stories from the world that bring a little balance without pretending everything is simple. I am your host, Ian Rhodes, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes to be here. Today's stories offer a reminder that community and kindness still find ways to grow quietly among us. But first, let's begin with a story about neighbors from across the country coming together with open arms, leaving politics aside to rebuild connection. Across the United States, neighbors are finding ways to gather that do not require anyone to agree on everything. In a village outside Chicago, Maureen Himmel has been describing her Wednesday night neighbor gatherings for 25 years, built on simple rules that keep the room welcoming and familiar. She says it is not about big speeches. It is about showing up again and again until community starts to feel normal. In New York City, Liz Gannon-Graydon hosts free Thursday tea parties in Bryant Park called Communi Tea, and she has done it for 13 years. Across the city, in Tacoma Park, Vocal Tacoma expanded into a 2-hour sanctuary event and raised more than $1,400 for We Are Casa. Even in Baltimore, the South Baltimore Peninsula Post publishes an all-volunteer free newspaper every other month and pairs it with the free all-ages I Love Sobo Day Party. And then there is movement and music. Tim Haft teaches free punk rope at the 14th St. Y for 22 years, open to everyone, with a Pride-themed playlist featuring LGBTQIA+ artists. What I love about all of this is how ordinary it feels. You see time, creativity, and conversation turning into real support, not just good intentions. It is like a reminder that when people make open spaces, trust grows quietly. And you know that feeling when you walk into a place and someone has already saved a spot for you. That is what these gatherings keep protecting. There is something quietly powerful about a community deciding together to keep care within reach for families who need it most. Today, I am sharing a story where that commitment grew in real time, one chapter at a time. Tri Delta, a college sorority with chapters across the United States and Canada, has partnered with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital since 1999. The partnership centers on member-led fundraising that helps reduce financial strain so families can focus on their children. At Tri Delta's annual celebration at St. Jude in Memphis, Tennessee, about 400 members from more than 130 chapters gathered in one place to mark the momentum they have built. During that celebration, Tri Delta announced it had raised an additional $25 million, bringing total donations from the partnership to $125 million. The milestone was also a look forward. The sorority shared that it is working toward raising another $100 million by 2038, keeping the effort going long after any single event ends. Members also toured parts of the campus, including the Danny Thomas Research Center, the Danny Thomas Alsac Pavilion, and Tri Delta Place, which offers short-term housing for families as they arrive for treatment. Seeing those spaces made the numbers feel more tangible, like support measured not only in dollars but in time, steadiness, and welcome. It leaves me with a simple, hopeful trust in people. When a group shows up year after year, generosity can become a kind of long-term shelter. In Nairobi, where work sites can be unwelcoming, a training program is quietly changing what women are able to do and where they are able to work. Today, we are looking at how practical education, steady support, and real momentum can shift entire lives. Builder, a Nairobi-based nonprofit founded in 2019, runs year-long training and internship programs for women in trades such as carpentry, tiling, and painting. At the training center in Babadogo Industrial Area, the approach goes beyond tools and techniques. New intakes complete orientation, then learn alongside classes like yoga and calisthenics, group wellness sessions, and on-site help with mental health and nutrition. Trainees also take advantage of skills updates, including a solar installation course launched this year. And that blend matters because it builds more than competence. It builds confidence that can walk onto a work site and stay standing there. 1 year can make a visible difference. More than 1,000 women have gone through Builder, and graduates report average daily earnings rising from about $1.50 to between $11 and $12 within a year. A 2024 Dalberg study that surveyed 354 women found that around 65% of Builder graduates were still working in construction 12 months after completing the program. In Cabrera, 24-year-old Diana Ogiambo said she was unemployed before joining, and now she supports herself and her children. At Tattoo City, a tiling contractor hired 7 women full-time after being impressed by their work. It is a reminder that when support is organized and skills are real, opportunity does not stay out of reach. It shows up, one training day at a time. It is one thing to talk about environmental progress, and another to see it take shape in the real world, right down to the return of a familiar bird. This story brings that feeling close to home. On Lundy Island in the Bristol Channel, puffins have made an unmistakable comeback. Back around the year 2000, puffin numbers had fallen to as low as 13, and the seabirds of the island were struggling. The turning point came when the island was declared rat-free, a decision made about 2 decades earlier. Over time, that long stretch of recovery gave the seabirds room to return, nest, and raise their young. Now the island is supporting more than 1,300 puffins, alongside a total of over 40,000 seabirds. Razorbills and guillemots are thriving too, and one particularly moving detail is the return of breeding storm petrels. They were once thought lost, yet here they are, building the future again. What I find hopeful about this is how patient the change is. It does not happen in a season or a single headline cycle. It happens when harm is removed and life is allowed to rebuild, step by step, until the island looks like it is remembering what it used to be. After weeks of dating apps that can start to feel like a numbers game, it is worth asking what would happen if you met people in real life again. Angela Garwood decided to try, and the change was surprisingly steady. She logged off and went looking for a connection the old-fashioned way, starting with an 8-minute speed dating carousel in Oxford. Each conversation had a clear beginning and end, and the structure kept her from rehearsing her worth or wondering whether a match was going to vanish. She met the host, Leo, and found herself more present than she had been in her inbox. Eventbrite, she noted, had even shown how much the appetite for this kind of dating was growing, with London's speed dating listings tripling in 2022 compared with 2021. Then she joined a Thursday singles night in a packed bar in London, where 2 glasses of wine and a margarita helped her loosen up and listen differently. Finally, she stepped into a Board of Dating Apps house party, meeting founders Jess Evans and learning that Boda launched in Liverpool in 2022 and has since expanded to London and New York. What stood out most was the way the room set expectations clearly, including a no ghosting and a respectful approach to rejection. No potential partner emerged from the 8-minute carousel, and yet she left uplifted. In person, she felt more nuance and unpredictability, like real people could surprise her. And at the Boda event, she connected with people she likely would not have matched with online. They planned to keep talking, and for her, that was a hopeful beginning. As always, I've got a wonderful tip for you to help with your mental reset and finding a bit more room for joy in your day. Today's tip is about how to stop feeding your mind only extreme examples. You know the kind I mean. Your brain picks the loudest headline, the worst-case scenario, the most dramatic story, and then treats it like it is the only truth that exists. But your mind is not a court of law. It is more like a filter. If you keep pouring it extremes, it starts to see everything that way, even the quiet, ordinary possibilities. Try this instead. When you notice you are jumping to always or never, pause and ask one simple question. What is a more average version of this? Not a fantasy, just a middle ground. For example, if you hear yourself say, "I always mess things up," switch it to, "Sometimes I mess things up, and sometimes I learn and I can adjust." Then add one small, real example from your own life, something you have survived, something you have handled. Let your mind practice being balanced, not just alarmed. Give it a few days. You will feel the noise soften, and your thoughts will become more trustworthy. All right, friends, we have reached the end of today's 10 Better Minutes episode. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me and letting these quieter pieces of good news settle in. Even when the headlines feel loud or heavy, there is still decency moving through everyday life. People helping each other, communities showing up, and small acts of care that do not ask for attention. If you have a good news story link, or even a local positive moment you think more people should know about, please share it in the comments. I genuinely love seeing what you are noticing, and it can be a real gift for other listeners too. This is Ian Rhodes with 10 Better Minutes. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow.